Hey, this is David for Big Bits, and in this video we're going to be talking about the newest dev blog update for Lightnite. And if you're not familiar, we've been doing these every month whenever they have their development blog updates. You can see I'm just kind of playing the game a little bit right now. This is actually not much of a game, it's more of a test map where you can check things out as part of their first build in the early access. And if you're wanting to get early access to kind of get around into the map, play around and see what it's going to be all about, you can actually use the referral code in the description. You get a 20% discount, and it should make the game $16 worth of Bitcoin instead of 20, and you'll get a free skin for your character as well as 500 satoshis to use in the Bitcoin enabled gameplay when that becomes available. Now I am going to switch over to the actual dev blog now that you've gotten to get another look at the actual game area itself. So let me go ahead and switch over to my other monitor. Give me just a moment. There we go. So we've got the dev blog pulled up here. They don't have a lot of major changes, but a lot of changes that you've been expecting and hoping for in the upgrades that you would well, really just expect. I'm going to repeat myself here, I believe, but there's a lot of these things that you would have expected to see that are just incremental upgrades, I guess is what I should call them, that you should expect to see on the systems that they've built. In the past, they've built these major systems that are going to support the major infrastructure of the game and the environment, the ecosystem for their product, and now they're going on to improving upon some of these and actually starting to work on a little bit more. So let's go ahead and get started. So they are working on their system to allow your skins to be used in the actual game itself, which means that they are going to have the models, the character models, use the skins, the assets from your liquid blockchain, your NFTs that you own. And if you're not familiar with the NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, please go back to one of my other videos where I actually discussed the non-fungible tokens with Lightnite. You're actually going to own these tokens. Those are going to represent your skins in the game, and you can use those skins in the game, and that's what they're working on now, is to actually get the skins to load in the game. So they also updated their settings menu, which was kind of basic, and they've added a lot to it. They've added some Easter eggs and much more. So we'll go ahead and get started on some of the things that they've actually done. They've updated their store, and they have made it a little bit more efficient. They used to have 7 items loaded, and now it's just 4. Originally it was 13. So these actually load the actual model into your browser so that you can actually click and drag on it and change the appearance of it. Let me see, I think I have one up. So kind of like this, where you can actually click and drag and look at the model in 3D. So that's actually pretty cool, but it probably uses a lot of browser resources, so limiting those is probably a good idea for most people. Now, they are working on a static section of the storefront. I believe this will probably be like a featured section where the items that they want to focus on are going to be made static to where they won't change, and then you'll also have some items that can change. And like they said, same items are listed for a period of time, like an event. So essentially, like I said, a featured section. And as far as the games go, they are going to be working on making things look a little bit more professional. And I don't know if you noticed from the videos that I've made before, the demo that you can get into, the pre-alpha, whatever you want to call it, it's kind of rough around the edges. It looks like you were using Duplo Legos instead of actual Legos. So they're going to be working on upgrading that kind of stuff to make it look a little bit more professional. They've also enabled the skin deposits and skin withdrawals, and we were just talking about this. This has to do with the NFTs, the non-fungible tokens on the Liquid sidechain. You're going to be essentially trading these like tokens. Like if you're familiar with Ethereum, this is kind of like an ERC20 token or ERC721, I believe. But these are going to be tokens that represent your skins, and you can trade them, you can withdraw them and deposit them using a liquid wallet. And we talked about that in the NFT video. They're actually working on getting this stuff enabled and added to the website. And you can see their kind of example here on how that'll actually work. You're going to be using addresses, and it's going to work like any other blockchain transaction, which is going to allow you to receive a skin from somebody and then deposit it into your Lightnite account so that you can actually use the skin. You can actually withdraw the skin as well, and then that would give you the ability to send it to someone on the Liquid sidechain, and then they could deposit into their account using it as like a way to gift people skins if you wanted to. Now, back to the Explorer, they've improved upon the search a little bit. You can now search the ticker and user ID when you're using the Explorer. It's not a huge upgrade, but like I said, a lot of these are just incremental upgrades that are just minor improvements to make things a little bit easier on you. And one of the things you'll notice is they also are going to be adding an item. It's where you can, or a button, I should say, to the Explorers where you can go ahead and buy that skin directly. So it's kind of like an upsell moment. Oh, you're looking at this skin, why don't you go buy it? So that is something that's going to be coming along. The user interface, this was their first prototype, and as I said, it's like Duplo. This isn't even that much. This is like somebody drawing something on a whiteboard and just kind of making it with their models that they actually had. This was their actual UI mock-up that they did, and like I said, it's kind of like Duplo. It's kind of curvy and big and shiny and kind of bubbly almost, and this is kind of what they're going for with the more finished design. I like it. I don't like the large borders over here. It works well on the menu buttons, I think, but on the header tabs, I'm not really too sure about that. Maybe a different color, because I'm not really a fan of this kind of weird yellowish brown dark mustard color. I don't know, it's just not working. Maybe it's a good idea to incorporate some of the Bitcoin colors, orange, white, throw in some black as well. Maybe that would be a better idea than using this kind of ugly color, in my opinion. But the actual items themselves, of course, these will be replaced with the models for the items, and I believe this will be the name. They'll probably have other information eventually, such as like value or maybe some other metadata related to the items itself. The borders are really huge. I think they can trim those back, maybe give them sort of a glowing effect, or some sort of transparency gradient to where it's not such a hard cutoff. That's of course up to them. Again, I don't like the color, but they're working on it, and it's incremental improvements. They're going to make it look better eventually, and they need your feedback. So if you're actually been following this and you want to help them with that stuff, they actually have a site specifically for that. I believe it's issues.lightnite.io. If not, you can always reach out to them on Twitter. They also have a Discord that you can go to and actually try to reach out to them and contact them to give them your feedback. They'll probably just redirect you to the issues page, but that's one way to get a hold of it if you can't find it anywhere else. Now, the character customization, they have been doing a little bit with this, and what they are having to do is they are working with the different categories of items. So you have skins, you have guns, maybe you're going to have a separate category of items for like a back item, like a backpack or a hat. So different categories, and they are trying to make these available in the game. So what they are going to be doing is they are going to be working with some base assets, getting them into the game, and then they are actually going to, at that point, ask the community what they would like. They're obviously going to make all assets available, all the store assets available in the game, but they are selectively going to pick those. So that's why I said they're going to make this something that the community can help decide. I've highlighted a lot of stuff here, but they're going to reach out and ask for opinions. So if you aren't following them on Twitter and involved on their Discord, like I mentioned before, it might be a good opportunity to share your opinion when they ask for it here in the coming months, year or so, depending on how their roadmap lays out. And as of now, I think the roadmap said that it was like the end of next year, the full release, or sometime during the middle of next year, the full release of the game comes out. But we should be getting some mini games and some other things coming sometime this year. I believe the multiplayer as well, as part of the early access using the referral code. So, oh, and they also shared this, the zombies. This is some of their new art assets, a zombie with the hot dog skin on, so that's pretty cool. And always you can go through the Explorer to look at all the different assets and issues.lightnite.io. This is to actually go talk about the issues. And let's see, they had some collaborations last month with Blockstream. Really nothing major going on there. They did a giveaway. One of the main things that I took away from this, though, was the settings dialog. This is something that needed to be improved. There wasn't very many settings before. They've added a lot. On the general tab, they've expanded the size of this so you can actually have more room for things. They've added sliders for the music and sound, separated those the audio out into different settings so you can change them respectively. You also have your other graphic settings, which are pretty much the same. Then they added a keyboard tab, and this one is essentially for your keybinds, your vertical axis and aim sensitivity, which is really nice because there wasn't an aim sensitivity setting in the very first build. And that's one of the few complaints that I had about the very first build. It would have been nice to have changed that, but this is an incremental process. And they also wanted to discuss their key binding system, which if you're familiar with key binding, that just allows you to tell a game which keys you want to use for which specific action. So if you wanted to jump using the spacebar, you could do that. But if you also wanted to remap your jump to the up arrow, you could do that as well. But alternatively, you could have a second key bind, which is the alternative key bind, and if for some crazy reason you wanted it to be the down arrow as well, then you could do that as well. You could either hit the up or down arrow in that instance and you could jump. So that's just one example. And then they also have a gamepad tab. I was kind of testing out playing it earlier at the beginning of the video with an Xbox 360 controller, and that worked pretty well. I personally like to invert my vertical axis when I'm using a controller, so it's nice to see these options in there. They also seem to have some keybinds here as well. They are also working on adding some presets. Excuse me, I was at a loss for words there. They're looking for adding some presets for the controls. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Halo, but they have on the Halo Master Chief Edition, where they have like 4 or 5 different games on it, there's a different preset key layout or button binding, I guess you would call it, for the controllers on pretty much all the different games. They kind of changed like which button was for the grenades and what certain things did. And this is kind of what that is. It's just different presets for how the controls will actually work. They're wanting to build in built-in settings and also have custom ones as well. They're also talking about customizing the bindings per controller. So if you're using an Xbox 360 controller, you'll have your settings for it, and if you have like a PS4 controller, if you're able to use that with a PC, you can actually change that as well, and you can actually have its own settings versus when you switch over to your Xbox 360 controller, which I'm not sure who's going to be doing that, but apparently that's going to be an option as well. So it's kind of nice to see. They also mentioned that, well, in the last video, I should say, we talked about a COVID-19 minigame. They weren't able to get that in, but they have shifted their priority and they're giving themselves a little bit more time to get that in. It still looks like it's part of their plans to add it into the game, but that's pretty much it for this dev update. They're going to get this in there. You should also go check out their roadmap to see what they're actually trying to accomplish. They are working to get a lot of things accomplished this year, and they have made a lot of progress already. It's going to be nice to see some more builds come out and be able to actually do some other things in the pre-release, but they have made a lot of progress on the back end and the infrastructure. We've been talking about that, and right now they are starting to make some upgrades on the actual visual elements, which is going to be huge. People aren't going to want to play a game that looks ridiculous. And the actual game itself, if you saw earlier in the video, looked really nice. The lighting was good, the art assets look nice, but when you go to a menu, if the menu looks ridiculous, it's going to turn people off as well. So you have to have a nice looking menu, and you also have to have a nice looking game. So they're working on these sorts of things. Like I said, I hope they improve upon these colors. I am not a fan of this mustard and yellow. The yellow's fine, but the mustard with it, I don't know. I'm not a fan. I'm gonna go to issues.lightnite.io and let them know that I do not like that color. They might even be watching this video, and if they are, I'm sorry for being so critical, but that is my opinion here. I don't like it. It's just, I'm not a fan of the mustard color, but it's probably hard to find a good color that goes with this kind of yellow that isn't already white or gray like you have with your alternate colors here. So that'll do it for this video. Like I said, if you want to pre-purchase the game, you can use the referral in the description of the video, 20% off, a free skin, and 500 satoshis when the Bitcoin enabled gameplay is available. So I hope you can take advantage of that if you haven't already, if you're interested in the game. But other than that, that will do it for today. If you liked the video, please leave a like, and if you're wanting to see more updates on Lightnite and other things related to Lightnite, I think we're also going to look at some Lightning wallets here in the future on the channel. Please go ahead and also subscribe, because we are going to be doing those types of videos. I also do trading view videos with PineScript tutorials and other things, so please check out the channel. Other than that, thanks and have a great day.